Hey guys, it's ryandrew, and I'm back with another one of these brush inking demos of the Mighty Thor by Jack Kirby. I really liked this illustration. I thought it had a lot of energy and really cool dynamic pose. So I will show you how I inked this in the style of the 1960s, 1970s era Jack Kirby inkers. Alright, let's get started. So I think this was a convention sketch, clearly for somebody named Jerome. It says 1971, I think, at the bottom. That might have been a Marvel convention. The only thing I could find online was an issue of the Kirby Collector magazine, issue number 36. It's on the cover. I wasn't able to find out what it was actually for, though. But if you guys know, let me know in the comments. I really just like the motion and the action in this image. When you look at it, you understand that the hammer is going in the opposite direction it should be based on his arm. But for this composition to work, it's like that's the only direction it can go for it to sell that motion and that weight of the hammer. So that's what I really like about this composition. And it just looks very loose. That was my goal, was to ink this drawing very loose. I'm using this double-sided cardstock that I found at Ollie's. It's got a light side and a dark side. I just print the illustration kind of scale back in opacity on the light side so that I can see what I'm inking. I'm going to cover up with the ink anyways, but it's just so you can see on the video what it looks like. And the trusted Winsor Newton size 1 Kolinsky Sable brush that I've been using for these. It's good for 8.5 by 11 size. I'm still using Speedball Super Black Indie ink. I really like it. And I'm putting it in like a little shot glass that I can just hold and dip and get the excess off pretty easily while I'm inking. It's always a good idea to rinse your brush off every once in a while you're inking. And I always have a piece of paper taped to the board that I use to get the excess ink off of my brush before I start inking. You want to taper the brush point down so that you can get a nice fine line before you start inking. And as I said, this illustration is very loose and sketchy anyways, so what I'm going to try to do here is ink pretty quick and not spend too much time trying to make it look perfect and precious, but I really want to match the energy of the pencils and ink as fast as I can without messing it up, of course. Just stay very loose, very sketchy with the ink, just go really quick and try to get that energy in the brush strokes. All right, and let's start. Starting right in here on the cape, I'm going to follow the cape first and just go around and do the contour and really not worry about making the lines look perfect. I want to just match that energy, like I said, of the pencil lines. I want to go and get really nice, strong, dynamic brush strokes on this cape here. Of course, Thor's cape is very iconic for the character, and I just like how the lines, the motion lines on this cape, the folds and everything are just selling that idea that he's straining with all of his might to throw the hammer here. In other videos, you've seen me just kind of go around like the outside contour edges of the character. In this one, I'm really kind of like picking and choosing. I want to just go as soon as possible for the hand and the arm and the shoulders and everything. I really want to get that idea of the motion here, the tension. You can see his arm just stretching from his finger all the way down to his shoulder and his back, and the cape just trailing off of him. So that was my focus, is just get that figured out first and do that as best as I can. Just ink it again. I'm inking this kind of quick. I'm trying to do this as quick as I can without messing up on it. So what I'll do here is I'll just outline the areas where there's going to be, filled in with black, and I'll come back and do that later. And I'll just work my way around the image, getting the detail and the feathering in as necessary, knowing that I'll come back to those areas later and fill them in completely with black. Again, I think it's just really funny. I think it's a convention sketch for Jerome, apparently. It's just a funny idea. What is Thor throwing the hammer to Jerome? Is Jerome in trouble and Thor is trying to throw Mjolnir at whoever is holding Jerome or terrorizing him or menacing him? I don't know. It's just a funny illustration. Like, what is Thor even doing here? But who cares? I mean, it's just a fun illustration. It's iconic. You need to have Thor and you need to have Mjolnir. For me, like the 60s, 70s version of Thor where he's holding on to the strap of the hammer while he's flying always looks a little silly to me. I prefer where he's actually holding on to the hammer by the handle, but that's why I like this image more, because he's actually throwing it. He's chucking it at whoever's there on the other side of that image. I also like about this illustration that he didn't take a lot of time trying to render it, the shadows and everything, super realistically. He hints at the shadows. You can see on the left leg there underneath his thigh, and the right side of his right leg where it's next to the cape. You can just get that idea of the shading, but he doesn't really take a lot of time doing it here. He's really trying to get to the point and get that iconic look here. I just love the design of like the early Thor boots. They're very simple. They kind of have like a callback to Norse or Viking dress, I guess, where they would wrap like those cords around their boots or their leggings. It's a very iconic design for the character. I like this 60s, 70s era Thor. Okay, I've got most of the contour and outside details done, so it's time to move in and start filling in those areas of black like I said before. I was just going to point out, sometimes when you have like crease lines on top of an area that's going to be filled in with black, you can always go back and use whiteout or white paint to get that nice crisp white on top of black. For here, I'm just doing it as quick as I can, so I'm trying to do it as careful as possible without having to go back and do that later. But that's up to you. And also just to point out, the knee pads or whatever these are on the top of his boots, I love that it's just solid black. Keep it simple. Don't worry about details like this that you don't need. Just make it iconic. Simple black. And again, of course, realistically, the hammer would be going in the direction of his arm if he was drawing this realistically. But for this composition to work, this idea that he's throwing this hammer so hard, he's done it in the complete opposite direction. It's like he's doing something wrong intentionally to sell the intended effect of that energy and that motion going on here. You'll see that in his other work, in his other comics, right? He is not always trying to do what's physically correct or represented most naturally or representationally. He is, what kind of space, what panel, what page border and spaces you have to work with, and then what's the best way to sell that motion or that emotion as strong as possible. Now here for the background elements, originally I was going to use a pen nib to give it a different texture than the foreground elements. I did that for the Hulk brush inking demo. I used a pen nib, something like a Speedball or a Hunt or something. But for this image, since I was trying to do this as quick as possible, I decided to stick with a brush for this. And I tried to get this done completely within an hour. I got pretty close to an hour, so you can use what you want. I just decided to stick with a brush and fill those areas in with black and just see how it turns out. Like I said in the Hulk video, I think in the Iron Man brush demo that I did as well, I really just like inking rocks and different rock structures, mountain structures. It's always hard for me to conceive or to conceptualize what rocks look like. You have to look at nature basically to do it. But I just love the way that Kirby and other people draw rocks like Mike Mignola, and it's just fun to ink them. I just really like the style that he uses here for those rocks. You really don't need a lot. I like the elements he's got going on in the background, but you don't need a lot to sell it. You can just tell, you know, he's on some type of asteroid or meteor or something going on in the background. You can see space, you can see planets or stars or something. There's some kind of fiery comet or meteor, whatever this is. It's just, you don't need a lot to sell the image. For one of these videos, I do want to do the Kirby crackle. Unfortunately, it's not for this one, but I didn't want to put it in if it wasn't there, but I will try to find an image, maybe a Silver Surfer drawing or something that's got a lot of Kirby crackle in it, because I really want to practice that as well. And let's not forget Jerome. Hopefully Jerome still has the original Jack Kirby drawing. I wonder how much it would be worth today. I tried to find it online. You can find auction websites, but I couldn't find this image for sale or when it was sold. So hopefully Jerome still has his original copy of this image. That would be awesome. So I'm just signing it here after Jack Kirby and my signature. This is my inks. I tried to do it as much as I could based on the style of the 60s, 70s era Jack Kirby inkers. All credit to Jack Kirby. And there you go, guys. There's the final illustration. I liked how it turned out. The background elements, like I said, just doing the solid black there instead of doing cross-hatching. I think it turned out pretty well. The contrast is still there. And I just like this image. I like the pose, I like the action, I like the motion going on here, even though the hammer is going the opposite direction. It's making you focus on it, of course. So I think it's a really strong image. This design for Thor is a very iconic Thor design. This is Jack Kirby's design, and you can tell that it's so popular it still is around today. And if you guys know who Jerome is, please let me know below. I want to know who Jerome is. I could only find that issue of the Kirby Collector online, issue 36, and I just wasn't able to find out who it was. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to all the subscribers as well. You guys are awesome. Thank you for liking and commenting. If you like these videos, I've got other ones that I've done. You can go check those out as well. And hopefully I can do some more of these in the future. I really have a lot of fun doing these. I hope that you guys got something out of this. You've been learning along with me how to ink with a brush, and that you're having fun doing it. That's the most important thing. And that you're improving your skills just like I am. So please like, share, subscribe, recommend this video to others, guys. Thank you so much. Until next time, have a great day, and as always, God bless.